The Power of Good Listening. The Story of Aiden and the Silence Between. In a small town by the sea, there was a young man named Aiden who was known for his quiet nature. He wasn't shy, nor was he particularly reserved. He simply preferred to listen rather than speak. People often mistook his silence for indifference, but those who knew him well understood that Aiden possessed a rare gift. He was an extraordinary listener. One summer, Aiden began working at the town's only bookstore, where he spent his days stacking shelves and helping customers find what they needed. It was here that he met Mrs. Harlow, a retired schoolteacher who came into the shop every Wednesday afternoon. Mrs. Harlow was a regular, and she would spend hours browsing the shelves, often stopping to chat with Aiden about her favorite books and the world around her. One day, as Aiden was reorganizing a display, Mrs. Harlow walked in, but something was different. She seemed distant, her usually bright eyes clouded with worry. She wandered the aisles aimlessly, barely glancing at the books. Aiden noticed her unusual behavior and quietly walked over, sensing that she needed someone to talk to. "Good afternoon, Mrs. Harlow," he said gently. "Is everything all right?" She sighed, looking down at her hands, and for a moment Aiden thought she might brush him off. But instead she began to speak, hesitantly at first, then with a flood of emotion. She shared with him her concerns about her son, who had recently lost his job and was struggling to find his way. She expressed her guilt, feeling as though she had somehow failed him, and spoke of her sleepless nights, spent worrying about his future. Aiden listened intently, nodding occasionally, but he did not interrupt. He allowed her to pour out her heart, offering only the solace of his presence. As she spoke, Mrs. Harlow's voice wavered, but she seemed relieved, as if each word lifted a burden from her shoulders. When she finished, Aiden looked at her and said, "It sounds like you care very deeply for him, Mrs. Harlow. Sometimes, simply being there for someone is the best thing you can do. It sounds like you're already doing everything you can to support him." Mrs. Harlow gave a small, grateful smile. "Thank you, Aiden. I hadn't realized how much I needed to say all that." From that day on, Mrs. Harlow became more than just a customer. She became a friend. She visited the bookstore not just for books, but for the comfort she found in Aiden's quiet presence. He never tried to solve her problems or offer advice unless she asked for it. He simply listened. And through their conversations, Mrs. Harlow found the strength to face her challenges, knowing that someone genuinely understood her feelings. Word of Aiden's gift spread through the town, and soon others sought him out for his thoughtful ear. Young people wrestling with big decisions, older folks reminiscing about days gone by, and even strangers passing through found solace in Aiden's ability to listen. He had a way of making people feel seen, of creating a space where they could be truly heard without judgment. Aiden knew that good listening wasn't just about hearing words. It was about understanding the silences, the pauses, and the unspoken emotions that lingered between sentences. He learned that when people felt heard, they often found their own answers, their own way forward. Through his quiet nature, Aiden touched more lives than he could have imagined. In a world where people were often too busy to truly listen, he provided a sanctuary, a reminder of the simple power of being present for others. As the years passed, the townsfolk came to appreciate Aiden's gift even more, realizing that good listening was more than just a skill. It was an act of love, a way to connect deeply with the people around you. And for Aiden, there was no greater gift than knowing he had made a difference, one conversation at a time.